Welcome to into Lax All Stars 2018 coverage of the World Lacrosse Championships. I'm super pumped to be here, sitting with Johnny Christmas, joining me to analyze the game that we just saw between the Canadians and the Iroquois. Huge fan, huge idol growing
Thank
up.
you.
So special to have you here talking about this game. I mean, we just had a 15-4 game between these two teams. We saw the first time these two teams met 10-5 game. Dylan Ward had 24 saves. He was 83%. We kind of saw the same thing again tonight, where Dylan Ward had an amazing goal game in net.
Yeah, I mean, it started the other night where he was just making some mid-range, close-in saves, and I think it kind of deflated the Iroquois. And when you're a shooter and you're thinking about shooting the ball, it's usually not a good sign.
You were a very good shooter.
Yeah. And so, he's just been unbelievable. Lights out. He's huge in the cage. He's taking up a lot of net, and and he's very quick, and it has just really been making guys think. So it's been an unbelievable game for him. And I think if this ended today, he'd probably be the MVP.
We were talking off air in the VIP tent, and you said this might be the best performance from a goalie.
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing Scott Bacigalupo in '92, seeing obviously Tillman Johnson playing with him at UVA and having an unbelievable performance against Hopkins. And you think about Sal Locascio in '98 when they won it at Hopkins for the Team USA, and this is right up there. I mean, this is some of the best shooters in the world. And again, it's it's not outside shots. It's
right.
in tight, mid-range, and he's making unbelievable saves, not giving up rebounds, and just
I haven't even seen a sweatpants save. Like
those sweatpants look pretty big,
but he hasn't used them. He
no.
hasn't needed to.
It's all been really clean saves and getting possession of the ball and leading the transition game really smoothly from the goal upfield. So it's an impressive performance thus far.
I mean, 83% is just ridiculous, and I think the defense in front of him too has obviously, having, Brody Merrill and guys that have played in the international game forever. I mean, you when you're here on Wingate 1, you can hear the defense. You can hear these guys communicating, and I think for me that was kind of one of the things that stuck out, was especially from Brody being able to kind of control that side of the ball.
Well, Brody's probably one of the best that's ever done it at any position. Unbelievable ambassador for the game. And what he's consistently been able to do, just from defending off ball, GBs, leading transition has been great. I think their defensive midfielders are playing unbelievable as well. These are guys that on any other team would be on the first offensive midfield line, and these guys are settling, playing defense and pushing transition. And even their attackman, West Berg, we were talking about it, got back on the defensive end a few times and played unbelievable.
So and that was one of the moments too where Brody was right behind him, and West Berg was like throwing a couple cross checks and a couple slaps. He's like, "Easy, Bergie, you're good. Just stand tall."
Yeah, and you can tell. I mean, there's one mission for these guys. They want to have a gold medal again, and there's one mission for U.S. So it's going to be an unbelievable game. Hopefully, U.S. gets back there for the gold medal game, and it's going to be real fun. My boy Jordan Wolf.
We got the U.S. walking behind us here to get on the field. That game's starting up. You see all these players getting on. Let's talk about the Iroquois though, because they had a great tournament. And it's just unfortunate that in these two games they weren't able to find that shooting range. And we're talking about ridiculous shooters too. In the first game, I think it was the second goal, Randy Stotts literally had to put the ball in a perfect spot for it to be saved. And obviously we talked about Dylan Ward, but was it surprising to you to see such low-scoring games from the Iroquois?
It was a little surprising. I think, again, it's one of those things where Dylan came out and made some point-blank saves early, and you're going, what else do we need to do to score? We're moving the ball, we're cutting well, we're being unselfish and making the one more pass, and so those early saves just kind of set the tone for, maybe the rest of the tournament, and we're obviously hoping that USA can continue to get to that 10 or 11 or 12 range. But it was still so fun to watch the Iroquois play, and obviously they're going to play for the bronze now, and they're going to want to continue to, have a medal in every game that they played. So I think everyone around here is really excited to see them play, and tell you the truth, I think everyone wants to see them win. And it's just so fun to watch the way they play. Obviously, they were just came up short with the firepower. And at the end of the day, I mean, gosh, we played 7 games, 8 games. It's unbelievable that these guys are standing up right now.
Yeah, and
so,
in a row and in the heat. You know, we're in the Middle East. The heat is real. Like I don't know how you have the dreads right now. I couldn't handle the heat. I couldn't handle the heat right now. So I'm not missing my dreads. but let's talk about this next game. We have Australia, Canada, Australia, USA. We saw both teams warming up now. I think for me, on the Australia side, the physicality that they have, right? You know, you have Callum Robinson on that defensive end. I love their D-middies. They get really physical. They kind of have nothing to lose, right? They're just playing it to obviously to win, but like they play with that kind of that edge, and you see it from their fans too. It kind of like spills off the stands onto the field.
They have a great fan base, and the Australians are hilarious. They are very blunt and they're funny, and they travel with a crowd. And
I'm kind of nervous because I don't see them out on the field yet. They're gonna like come out of
the
woods or something.
You know, it's easy to spot with the yellow just hanging out, but you know, I think that the way that they play is exciting. You know, a lot of ball movement, a lot of cuts, very unselfish.
Right.
You know, you talk to some of the coaches and they talk about their ability to dodge and run by guys and create their own. So I think, you know, hopefully that's going to be something that they're really focusing on in development at the younger age, as you know the sport continues to grow, and it's been there for a very long time. You know, for U.S. I love just the unselfishness, the ball movement. It's not dying in anyone's stick.
Do you know who their leading goal scorer is right now?
I would probably say Ryan Brown.
You're right. Yeah. 20 goals.
20 goals.
20 goals.
You know, his shooting stroke is literally a work of art, and every single kid should be watching the way that he strokes it, lefty and righty. But, yeah, you know, and that's probably a guy that was very close on not making the team, right?
Well, and that's, like, what's kind of crazy about the U.S. process. There's so many guys, you know, that you could easily plug and play, you know, with the final roster. And I know for the U.S. there was a team of 45 was the final roster.
Yeah.
There was 23 that traveled. And that's how kind of Coach Danowski has been, you know, talking about this team. So, to me, like – Ryan Brown has been the catalyst for them, and that easily could have been someone else. And you know, you talk about Danowski, Crotty, Rabel, Schreiber, Pinnell, like all the different guys like that. I mean, a month ago, you know, we're talking about Schreiber being the best player in the world. I mean, I think he still is between indoor and outdoor. But like, there's so many guys on this team that could be filling it up, and it's coming from a guy you know, that's, you know, pretty fresh out of college still.
And again, I think that's indicative of like what their mission is. It's like, hey, you know, look, if I'm Paul and I have 30 goals in this season or this tournament, and I make all world, but I get a silver, it doesn't really mean much, right? I think all these guys are on the same page of getting the gold medal back to the United States, and it's fun to watch because that's what lacrosse should be all about.
And you've spent some time here, run into you all over the place here in the Wingate Institute. You've had a lot of fun. Any moments that kind of stick out to you from the event so far, just from being here in Israel, you know, outside of the games or anything?
I mean, you know, I grew up with a lot of guys that had the ability to go do birthright, right, and come over here. One of my best friends was a girl whose parents were from Israel. So growing up, I always heard about Israel, and then you see the media and you just hear about Gaza Strip and, you know, conflict, and so you kind of get a little confined on thinking about going over there. And so, you know, I think for most people that this has been the case. It's like, wow. Like, this place is unbelievable. It's got beautiful people. It's got unbelievable food. It's got beautiful history, beautiful beaches. And so kind of spending some time off the field, which hasn't been a lot because we played a lot of games, which is good for our guys with Uganda. But what a beautiful country, very friendly people. And just I can't think of a better place to have the World Games, as you know the sport has continued to grow here with the leagues and the youth development. It's really kind of surreal and special.
And I failed to mention that off the top, of course, you know, lacrosse legend, but coaching for Team Uganda. You know, and I got to see you guys win that first game, your first game in pool play. How special was that for your guys and for yourself? I mean, you've done a lot of work to make this program happen, and you put a lot of time and effort in supporting this group.
So in 2011, Kevin Dugan, he ran Fields of Growth. Asked me to come over with a litany of other people. Hannah Nielsen was one of them, who is an Aussie and is the head coach now in Michigan. And I was a huge fan of her. So we all went down there and introduced that game, the sport, 7 years ago, and then kind of stepped away and continued to just do, just live life and run programs in the States, and was lucky enough to last year get called up and say, hey, look, would you like to be the offensive coach with Mike Allen, who grew up in Baltimore and played at Princeton and is the UCSB coach now? And I said, well, let me think about this. Right, summers are pretty crazy.
Right.
If you're running travel teams and you're running a lacrosse training program.
Well,
like
and you have a family, and
you got a family.
I met your wife and your son Sky and his beautiful child. So.
And so you think to yourself, is this feasible? But we made it happen, and they came over. But it's been unbelievably rewarding, because 7 years ago there were some of those guys on the field, and now they're out there and they're running plays, and they're clearing the ball and saving the ball and playing unbelievable defense and doing things that really resembles some good lacrosse. And so hopefully this can continue to be sustainable. The leadership that's behind it is really good, and there's been some unbelievable people that have helped out. So,
and one thing that stood out to me watching that game was the language barrier, and I think that's interesting for all of all the teams here in the games. There's 42 other teams besides the top four, right? And I think that's kind of the thing that's been standing out for me. And that language barrier. I remember there was a play you were trying to tell your guys to keep it in the box, and when you're on the field, and sometimes when people are yelling at you, you do the wrong thing just because everyone's yelling, you don't know where it's coming from. But talk about that language barrier that you've had to learn about and kind of maneuver your way through as a coach.
The communication with the language barrier has been tough. But I also think there's some cultural things that have been tough as well, and as this continues to be something that the coaches put their focus behind, really diving into the culture and knowing, okay, hey, look, we have a 17-year-old and we have a 35-year-old, and in their culture, sometimes, most of the times, the 35-year-old isn't going to ever say that he doesn't know what's going on, because that kind of breaks the cultural norms, right? He's 35, and the younger guy is going to be very timid, so I think it's just going to take time.
That's a great point. I interviewed a young gentleman from Ridgewood, New Jersey, who's playing for Turkey. His name's Ege. He's actually leading the tournament in points. He's 17 years old.
Wow. So
he's like the captain of his team for Team Turkey, and he's 17 years old. So
and that's I think that's the other thing that's great about sports, right? Age, race, ethnicity, it kind of starts to transcend, and you've seen it here. Everyone has really kind of come together and just really enjoyed the games as a kind of a collective group. So it's been cool.
I'll share my favorite moment with you. My favorite moment the other day happened walking around the field talking to some of the ball boys, and I stop and I grab one of the kids. I'm like, what's up, man? He's like, what's up? I'm like, how do you love lacrosse? He's like, I love it, man. It's so fun. I'm like, why? He said it's changed its life. I'm like, why? And he's like, well, before sports were my enemy, and all of a sudden everything's become clear.
Wow.
Wow. He was like 11 years old. He's from, I'm probably going to butcher this name, Bratislava, Israel, which is south
11 years
inland,
old with that.
And English is his second language, and he was able to communicate why he loves lacrosse better than anyone I've heard.
Yeah. It's really been special, and there's obviously been a lot of talk about some of these teams not really being national teams, more heritage teams, but for me, I think that's fine. Right. As you have to kind of get this enthusiasm. You look at Puerto Rico, right? And every single player from the United States.
That's been kind of a heated conversation, but kind of back and forth.
Yeah, and same with the Philippines, right? And you look at it and you go, well, when that news gets back to the Philippines or Puerto Rico, now you kind of have the MO. Now you have the ability.
More people want to come in, right?
And so if you want to develop a youth program there, you need to have the assets. And those assets of marketing and advertising, what happened in these games, are going to be huge for a lot of these countries going back and kind
Exactly.
of looking at the next World Games in 2022.
Yeah. Well, Johnny, I really appreciate it. Loved having you on.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate the analysis, and keep doing great things with Uganda. It's pretty awesome. Actually, that's my other favorite moment. I got a ceremony shirt.
Yeah. Nice.
I went to go buy one of the other ones at the table, and he pulled out the ceremony shirt from his bag. He's like, I got something special for you.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna rock that thing hard.
Well, hey, keep inspiring me as well, Josh.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
We'll be right back. We're going to head to a commercial break, and then we're going to have Dylan Ward of the Canadian national team to talk about his remarkable save performance in this last game. We'll be right back. All right, I'm now joined by Dylan Ward. Dylan, thanks for joining me right after the game. You took your sweatpants off. So we were joking before, Johnny and I, that you're not even having to make sweatpants saves.
Yeah.
You're seeing the ball so well right now. What's working for you?
I think it's got to be a little bit of skill, a little bit of luck, and everything in between. So defense is playing great for me. They're forcing shots for teams in low angles, which I'm obviously pretty big. I can eat those up, whether I make it with my stick or my body. But I think it's just everything going the right way for us right now.
I don't know if you know your numbers. The 10-5 win against Iroquois, the first game, you were 83%. You had 24 saves. I'm not sure about your numbers in this game, but I'm pretty sure they were similar. Have you had like a string of games like this?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
I remember you didn't when we played you in college at Bellarmine. we usually got you. But.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, I'm feeling good right now.
Yeah.
The defense has a lot of confidence in me. I have a ton of confidence in my defense, and things are just going well for us right now.
Yeah. So let's talk about the offense. I wanted to get Jeff Teton here, but I think he might be running off. I think he's been kind of a silent assassin for you guys offensively. You get to watch him from a pretty good angle. What have you been seeing from Teet?
He's got to be the smartest player on the field.
Wow.
His head is always up. He gets the ball and he's always looking for that next thing, whether he's looking at the net, whether he's looking for a cutter. He's always moving his feet. Like, the guy just knows lacrosse inside and out. And you can't say enough good things about him. He's going to be a junior in college. Like, the guy, he's
or sophomore. I think he's a sophomore. He's going to be a sophomore.
He is unbelievable. And what he means for our offense, he really is the gear that makes us tick. And his game has been awesome, and I'm excited to see what he can do on Saturday.
Well, and kind of speaking from his perspective, obviously you don't know what he's thinking, but you know what it's like to be a young buck, like with a veteran team. You've been playing on teams like that, and when you got into the Nationals, kind of same situation. What is it? What's that situation like, and how do you kind of go through that?
I think the thing about that is there's no pressure on you, right?
Yeah.
You're just a young guy. You're not, I don't want to say nothing's expected of you, but you're not
a passenger. You said that. I love that.
He's not a passenger, but he's not a Brody Merrill, or Jeff Schneider, or Kevin Crowley, names that people know at the highest level. He's Jeff Teton. He's a college player, and he can kind of slip in there and play his game, and I think he's done that seamlessly, and I think he's really taken people off guard.
Dylan, I really appreciate the time. I'll let you get out of here. Congrats, and I know you guys. Are you sticking around to watch this game, or are you guys getting out of here?
I have no idea what's going on.
All right, good luck. I know you guys want this next one, so
absolutely appreciate that.
Yeah. You got to give your girlfriend credit too. I think you started playing well when she came in.
She's a beast.
Yeah. All right, man. See ya. All right, I'm supposed to have Casey Powell when we get back. We'll see where he is. Break down this USA-Australia game, so we'll go to a break, and I'll be right back. Thanks. So I'm joined now by a tremendous man, a really special guest, Richie Moran, an absolute legend of the sport of lacrosse. I mean, you're on 9 or 10 Hall of Fame lists. You played at Maryland. You won 3 national championships as a coach at Cornell. You were a Team USA head coach in '78. The list goes on. You've been a part of international lacrosse since the '60s.
That's correct.
Let's just start off by welcoming you here to Netanya. You got here this morning. What's been your experience so far in just the few hours that you've been here?
Well, let's look back 5 years ago.
Okay.
I'm at a national convention. Scott Neese, who's organized this and running this, came up to me. He said, "You have a few minutes. I'd like to talk to you about how you started lacrosse in Ireland." Actually, lacrosse was in Ireland until 1933. Then it was disbanded, and we brought it back in 2001. So we had a beautiful book on how to do it, what steps to take, and I gave the book to Scott. And Max was with him, Max Seabolt. And the 10-minute conversation lasted 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I saw the enthusiasm he had, and then I recommended some people, Billy Baroza, Howie Bork, and get those people involved. So coming off that plane today and coming here and watching the enthusiasm, and I saw a lot of young players with lacrosse sticks.
Yeah.
And I grew up in an ethnic neighborhood, and it was Jewish families, Polish, German, Italian, and you get great values for people.
Yeah.
And to look around tonight, I mean, I'm watching people more than I'm watching games.
Yeah.
Even though Ireland lost a heartbreaker to England 11-10.
Right.
So watching the people and the reactions and knowing that this someday could be the sport of Israel.
We're in the Middle East.
Exactly.
We're in the Middle East right now playing lacrosse. That's pretty special.
You know, it's interesting. I went to Jerusalem today.
Yeah.
And I have read the Bible a number of times.
Yeah.
And it sort of gives me a little bit of solitude and a chance to relax. And as I was going through Jerusalem, things in that Bible popped out.
Mm.
And Jerusalem is certainly an unbelievable gift to the world.
Yeah.
And
everyone has a piece of it, right? You know, everyone has some sort of tie
no question.
or kind of lineage. It's in everyone's blood, right?
Exactly.
Speaking of books, you just came out with a book.
Yes.
And it's available at richiemoran.com.
That's correct.
Let's talk about what's in that book and kind of what do you share to the world in that book?
I share the fact that my parents were both born in Ireland. Mm-hmm. My dad was born in Sligo. My mother was born in Clare. My mother came here in 1915. She was a domestic for the Vanderbilt family. My dad came over in 1916, and he was a designer, ship designer.
Wow. And
he was promised a job. And in those days, unfortunately, Irish and Italian weren't getting jobs.
Yeah.
Especially from coming across the ocean.
Right.
And he was going to go back. He met my mother at a dance. Decided to stay an extra 2 weeks before he went back. Got drafted into the First World War.
Oh my gosh!
So that's an interesting history in the United States.
Wow!
When you registered, when you came into the United States, you're eligible for conflicts or war.
Right.
So bingo, he's drafted.
Yeah.
Didn't know the Star Spangled Banner. Was an American citizen.
Right.
In fact, didn't become an American citizen until 1919. And I'm the last of 8 children. Had 5 brothers in the Second World War. My oldest brother went to West Point. And unfortunately, he was a pilot and got killed in 1944. But my parents did a lot, sacrificed a lot. Mm. And the book is about what they did for me, what they did for our family. My brothers and sisters grew up. Their youth was depression, and their adulthood was the war.
Right.
So, Tom Brokaw wrote a beautiful book, The Greatest Generation. I recommend every parent to get that. Let their sons and daughters read that. Because unfortunately, in high school today, we forget the Revolutionary War, Civil War, all the unfortunate wars and conflicts we've been in. Mm-hmm. And I think our youth should get an appreciation of what 18, 19-year-old guys did at Normandy.
Yeah.
In fact, some were 17.
Yeah.
Now just picture, you look at this field right now.
Yeah.
There's some guys here in their 20s. What would they be like landing in Normandy or jumping out of a plane?
Right.
Or in the Battle of the Bulge.
Yeah.
What do you do in that situation?
Right.
So I wrote about my family. I wrote about my experiences. My high school coach was a remarkable guy. I played on a team that won 58 straight games in high school.
You're just surrounded by winning.
I was lucky. I was
surrounded by winning.
I was a baseball catcher. And all my buddies were playing lacrosse and football, and I played football. And we never had lacrosse. I went to a parochial grade school, and I was a baseball catcher.
Yeah.
So
I was horrible at baseball. That's why I switched to lacrosse.
In fact, I caught 2 guys who made the pros.
Oh, wow.
And I went into his office in December. I said, "You mind if I try lacrosse?" He said, "No, you're involved in baseball. And we don't like to take players from other sports."
Right.
And I walked out.
Yeah.
And he caught up to me. He said,
I'll hold it for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I got you.
He said, "I want to give you a lacrosse team,
Yeah.
and you can play box lacrosse in the winter." So he talked about box lacrosse being the thing of today. We were doing that in the 50s, okay, on the tennis courts.
Right.
So, basically, I talk about that. I talk about my experiences at Maryland. I talk about my experiences in the Marine Corps. I talk about my coaching experience. No X's and O's. The next book I'm going to write is about X's and O's. And also what it took for our players to come to Cornell. How to pay tuition, how to have summer jobs. They didn't go to Cancun. They didn't go to Jamaica on vacation.
Right.
They were working laborers, you name it.
Yeah.
And the beauty is they made great sacrifices. And I think that's what made us champions. I know. We won 42 straight games in the 70s. And we just had a reunion of that whole group. 90% of the guys could get back. 2 guys were in Europe, so they couldn't get back. But we were together for 3 days.
Wow.
And,
Did they all buy your book?
yes. And the love,
Good.
and the love they have.
Yeah.
In fact, a number of years ago, I was asked by Lacrosse magazine to pick the all-time Cornell team.
Mm-hmm.
And I sent the guy 29 pages. He calls me up. He calls me up. He said, "You sent me 29 pages."
Yeah, well, there's
I
that
said,
many.
"That was every player.
Yeah.
Every player." And in the back of my book is every player.
Oh, wow.
So I never had an all-time team.
Wow.
And I didn't think it was fair because I wasn't there in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, and 50s. And there were great players there. So how do I overlook them
Right.
to pick people that played for me?
Right.
And I'm going to stay that way.
One of the guys in the back of that book is on the field today with
No question.
with
Max
uh,
Seabald.
Team Israel, Max
Yeah,
Seabald.
yeah.
I mean,
What a
how
thrill.
cool is that to see? Well, and Bill Baroza too. I mean, he was a Team USA goalie indoor.
Yeah.
To see guys play for USA and now be representing Israel.
When Billy was a baby, I used to hold him in my arms. I'm serious. I was great
You
friends
think
with
you
him.
can hold him up now?
Not really. Not really. But what a remarkable goalie.
That's amazing story, and to be a part of the games so early and be part of
sure.
international lacrosse so early,
Yep.
and then to be here today in the Middle East.
Yep.
I mean, what sort of change have you seen over the years in international lacrosse?
I think it's a lot more dedication.
Yeah.
Before it was sort of like get on a field and socialize after and have too many libations and try to play the next day.
A couple sodas.
Yeah, true. And now we don't have that.
Yeah.
We have great dedication. We have men that really dedicate themselves. I mean, it's tough playing 4 or 5 games in 9-10 days.
Oh, yeah.
You got to get your legs back.
In this heat, too?
I love
it.
it.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
See, I was a heat coach.
Yeah.
Marine Corps training.
Yeah.
We could run all day. So
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we could talk for days, right? We
question.
could talk for days about lacrosse and your legacy. I really appreciate the time. I want you to enjoy the rest of this
Thank
game and your time in Netanya. It's an amazing place.
It is.
And I'm sure you'll share some stories the rest of the days that you're here.
This is just the beginning. I
it's
can't
just the
I can't
beginning,
wait
yeah.
to see those little boys and girls that I saw today
Oh, yeah.
get out on this field.
They will. I'll share a quick story with you. I was walking around the field here, and one of the ball boys I stopped to talk to, and he's from a very rural city of Israel. And before, he said that sports were his enemy. And then he saw the sport of lacrosse, and
That's great.
everything became clear.
That's great. And one thing I want to leave you, wherever I do clinics,
Yeah.
we usually have a parent session the night before, or sometimes during the weekend I'm there. And this woman raised her hand. She was from Mississippi, and it was in Austin, Texas. She said, my 11-year-old son, I have a training for him. Do you recommend that? I said, ma'am, I don't. I don't. I said, if you want your son to get strong, have him hug you, your husband, and his grandparents every day. He'll build his arms up, he'll build his chest up, and he'll build the love up that he has for these people. So forget the weights. So if you're lifting weights, give them up and hug your parents.
I love that. When I get back, I'm definitely going to hug my parents for sure. I really appreciate that.
I appreciate your help.
Thank
and
you.
listen, good luck with your career.
I appreciate it.
And I'd like you to get to the highest level that you possibly can in your life.
Awesome.
Really.
Awesome,
And
Rich.
it's so nice that you had a championship at Loyola.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, moments that we'll never forget,
Yeah.
right?
Don't forget them.
Yeah, never will.
Memories are special.
We got a couple of these too that we don't forget too, right? Yeah, really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. All right, we're back here on Wingate 1 in Netanya. We have USA and Australia behind us, but in front of us, two special guests, Mr. Holman and Sydney Holman here joining me. We just grabbed you right off the stairs here because we wanted to talk to you, and obviously you're here to watch your son Marcus and your brother Marcus, but let's talk about Richie Moran for a second, because you were just saying an awesome story about him. We just saw that interview I had last night. But what is it about Richie that just makes him an absolute legend?
Yeah, I think that's great, Josh, because I think those are the guys, that this game was built on the backs of. The Richie Morans, the Henry Ciccaronis, the Buddy Beardmores. And, as the game progresses, we lose sight of some of the older guys that really were pushing this game forward. And I was just saying to you how proud I am of you and guys like Marcus and Scott Ratliff and Will and Adam, and you guys are really going above and beyond to make this game as special as it is, because you care. And the bottom line, what I was saying about Richie, what I've always seen out of him is that it's right from his heart, and he cares, and that's the way you guys are going about your business. So it just makes me happy to see you talk to him, because it's like a passing of the torch in a way, and beyond the fact that he was one of the greatest coaches in the history of our game. Yeah. So, yeah.
And Sydney, I'll go to you next. You guys just got here. you just got to Israel. You just flew in. What have you experienced so far?
It was a bit of a trip. We've never been to this side of the world or Europe or anything, so we weren't used to that over 8 hours. So we flew from they flew from Salt Lake City, met me at Atlanta to Paris, which is really interesting. And
south, is that
Paris to Tel Aviv, and we flew over the Swiss Alps and Croatia. The Paris airport was definitely interesting. It tested our patience a lot, but we're here and we're trucking through this jet lag, and we are so excited for tonight and to see Marcus play, and the rest of the team. We're so incredibly excited. From 4 years ago, we were out at Denver, the World Championship with Marcus, and a lot of highs and lows there. So we're excited for what's to come, especially over in this beautiful country.
We were just talking about caring. It's awesome to see your family and how much you guys care for each other, and you guys are all over the game. I mean, you just had a tremendous career in college, and now you're working at Fox Sports down in Atlanta, if you didn't know that. So it's really cool just to see you guys out here and be a part of this. Let's talk about Utah. Congrats, man. Yeah. July 1st, you officially became a D1 program. Yeah. Or maybe not congrats, because now you got to follow the rules.
We always follow the rules. Come on,
I'm just messing with you. But it's so awesome that you guys are finally a Division I program. I mean, we've talked before about seeing this whole thing through, but now it's official. Like, what was that moment like?
I don't know. It's I don't want to use the word anticlimactic, but we've been there, Josh, as you know, for 2 years.
Yeah, you've been operating like
so
that. Yeah.
we have been doing everything that we as a staff believe as a Division I program.
Right.
And so it's not like all of a sudden that we just showed up yesterday and we start. So in that sense, it's a little anticlimactic, but as you said, it's for real now. And to be quite honest with you, as you know, my staff and myself, we're pretty competitive guys, and
super competitive.
Being real is really enticing for us.
Yeah.
So we loved every moment of the club process, and those kids, man, I get emotional when I think about them. They gave us everything they possibly could give us, and some of those kids will make that transition forward, and a lot of them won't, but they'll never be forgotten on the lore of Utah lacrosse, because that's where it started. So, we've been fortunate enough to have those 2 years and build a base and build what we believe is the culture that we want to try to establish.
Right.
And now we got to go out and play for real. And our spring schedule is off the charts. I can't wait to release it. I can't wait
Can you give us a preview?
I mean, we're going to open up with Vermont. Coach
Awesome.
Fifes is one of my bestest and dearest
UNC
friends.
relationship, of course.
Absolutely. We sat side by side for
and
8
Jake,
years.
one of his assistants, is right behind us.
The Bernhardts and Mark and Jake play together on the machine.
Yep.
And so there's a lot of ties there, which are so important to us. Again, being family oriented. So we got them.
I live in Denver now. So
I know you
coming
do.
to DU.
We're coming to Denver.
Okay, good.
And we're going to play Air Force while we're there.
Awesome.
That weekend, and we're going to play some heavy hitters. UVA, Coach Tiffany just
he's out here with the Iroquois team.
Squeezed me into his schedule.
Yeah.
So we got them and Hofstra. Coach Tierney's on the sideline. We got Hofstra.
Yeah.
So there it is. UMass, Coach Canella, the connection
Awesome.
with
Are you going to Amherst, or are they coming?
We're going
Good.
up. We're going
Make
up.
sure you get some Antonio's pizza. Right.
I'll do that.
Okay.
I'll do that. Hopefully before or after. Maybe before. I don't think after we'll be in too good a mood, but so maybe we'll do it before. But schedule's good, and we're just really, really excited. And the bottom line for us, Josh, as you know, is we all love the game intently, and we just want to honor the game by the way we prepare and the way we play. We know it's just a process. We know what's ahead of us, and we have so much respect for everybody involved that I think we're going to approach it the right way. Yeah. And our kids are going to play hard, and they're going to have a whole lot of fun doing it, and we'll see what happens.
Let's talk about what's ahead of you, and potentially the Pac-12 as something. There's kind of questions about the conference, or if you're not going into a conference, or if you're building towards the Pac-12. What's kind of the news there?
I wish I know. I'd love to be able to sit here and tell you this, that, and the other.
Right.
But there's a lot of balls in the air right now.
Yeah.
As there was when people thought we were going to be a Division I program. So there are some things in the works. I'm not really privy to talk about them.
Right.
But I do know ultimately what I had hoped and prayed for was that if we could pull this off, then there would be cracks in the doors, right? And that's all you want, right? You want somebody at some athletic department saying, well, if Utah can do it, why can't we do it? And what did they do? How did you do it? So I've had a lot of those inquiries. So my hope and again prayer is that in 3 to 5 years there will be a new shape of lacrosse on the West Coast. Mm-hmm. I'm not quite sure what that's going to look like.
Yeah.
But I do think we can move it that way.
The women have done it.
Women, but the women do everything quick and right. Like they just Pac-12 conference, let's go get one, and they got 3 teams. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. If my wife was here, she'd be jumping up and down too. But they do. I mean, look what they did with the shot clock, and they fit their mind to something. They get together on it, and bam, next thing you know, and I'm not saying it's always right, but they go for it.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of admiration for the women, how they run their program. So I think there's a future in the West.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's awesome. I'm going to let you get to your seats. I know you want to watch this game. Yeah. One last question. I'm not going to ask you who you think's going to win. Yeah. But let's get a score prediction, maybe.
Holy.
Yeah.
USA 15. Australia 6.
That's a good score. I like the odd numbers. Even 15-6, add up to 21. That's odd. Yeah. So, yeah, cool. I'm not a big predictor. Here's
Marcus over under 2.
If history says anything, I'm gonna.
Marcus got to watch his back. You better.
I'm gonna say history says everything. I'm gonna say over, but I don't really care as long as they win. As Sydney mentioned earlier, we were there in 2014, man, and that was one of the tougher things I've ever had to watch for all those young men that work so hard. So, they're taking it one game at a time, and Coach Dino and his staff have done a phenomenal job of making a team, and that's ultimately what it's all about.
Well, I really appreciate the time, both of you. Enjoy this game. We got to go. The national anthems are starting for both teams, so enjoy the games. Thank you. That's all for us at Lacrosse All-Stars coverage.
Thanks,
of the
guys.
2018 World Games.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you.